My hands, they aren't mine anymore. Not at 2:17 in the morning. They belong to the taper. They belong to the microscopic tremors that start at the wrist and ripple down to my fingertips every time I try to hold a pen. I'm sitting here in my kitchen in Roanoke, the same kitchen where I used to pack school lunches for Dana and Kevin, and I'm staring at a yellow legal pad. I have to track it. 0.5 milligrams at 6 a.m., 1 milligram at 2 p.m., 1.5 at bedtime. It's funny, if you can call it that. For 33 years, these hands were the last line of defense for this town. I was the one who checked the math. I was the one who looked at the interaction between your blood thinner and your antibiotic and said, "Wait, let's call the doctor." I was the RPH, the registered pharmacist. I co-owned Chambers and Mills for 2 decades. People trusted me with their lives because I was precise. I was clinical. I was the woman who never, ever made a mistake. And now? I can't even open a child-proof cap without leaning my weight against the counter. It started in March 2011, a Tuesday, 17 minutes. That's how long the gun was pressed against my temple. 2 men, hooded, smelling like damp wool and desperation. They wanted the oxy. They wanted the hydrocodone. I gave it all to them. I was a professional, even then. I kept my voice steady while my heart was trying to kick its way out of my ribs. 3 weeks later, the panic attacks came. Not just nerves. I mean the kind of terror that makes you think your lungs have turned into solid lead. I went to see Dr. Howard Pruitt. Good man. He'd been my GP for 15 years. Howard looked at me, sighed, and wrote a script for Clonazepam. 0.5 milligrams twice a day, Evie, he said. Just for 4 to 6 weeks, until you process the trauma. It's perfectly safe. It's perfectly safe. I went back to the pharmacy. My pharmacy. I walked behind the counter, scanned the bottle, printed the label, and applied it myself. I knew exactly what I was doing. I'd dispensed that same chemical 5,000 times before. I knew the molecular structure. I knew the half-life was 30 to 40 hours. I knew the risks, but I needed it. I needed the lead in my lungs to turn back into air. The label I printed said, "May cause drowsiness. Use caution when operating machinery." What it didn't say, what I never wrote on any label in 33 years, was that it would eventually become the machinery. By 2014, the 4 to 6 weeks had become 3 years. The 0.5 milligrams twice a day had become 2 milligrams a day. Tolerance is a patient thief. It doesn't rob you all at once. It just slowly raises the rent on your own sanity until you can't afford to live without it. I remember the exact moment I knew I was gone. It was a rainy Thursday in 2015. A patient came in, Mr. Henderson, 72, retired teacher. He had a new script for Clonazepam. I stood there looking him in the eye and gave him the professional talk. "Now, Mr. Henderson, this is a benzodiazepine. It's very effective, but you have to be careful. Do not take more than prescribed. Do not use it for more than a few weeks or your body will stop making its own calm. You don't want to depend on this." I was so articulate, so clinical. He thanked me. He said, "You're a lifesaver, Evie." And as he walked out the door, I felt the cold, metallic taste of the extra half milligram I'd swallowed 20 minutes before my shift started, just so I could stand there and talk to him without shaking. I had advised him with his own poison still warm in my blood. I was a hypocrite in a white coat. The losses started cascading after that. First, it was the precision. In 2014, I started noticing glitches. I'd be checking a tray, and for 3 seconds, 4 seconds, my brain would just disconnect, like a dropped call. I'd check the same bottle twice and forget I'd already done it. I never made a mistake that reached a patient, thank God, but I knew it was coming. I could feel the fog rolling in. So I quit. I closed the pharmacy in 2016. I was 55. I told everyone I was passing the baton. I told Bill Mills, my partner, that I wanted to travel. Ireland, Portugal, the places I'd promised myself for 30 years. I didn't go to Portugal. I stayed in this kitchen. I stayed with the white noise of the refrigerator and the yellow legal pad. Because by then, Clonazepam wasn't just medicine. It was my husband. It was my best friend. It was the only thing that made the world stop screaming. Dana, my daughter, the RN, she saw it in 2019. She came home for Christmas. She's a nurse. You can't hide it from them. She saw the way I fumbled with the silverware. She saw the Clonazepam stare. That look where you're present, but you're about 6 feet behind your own eyes. Mom, she said, it was late, right here at this table. You've been on that stuff for 8 years. You're a pharmacist. You know what it's doing to your GABA receptors. You're self-medicating a trauma that happened a decade ago. I snapped at her. I'm a professional, Dana. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm monitoring my dose. She didn't stay for New Year's. She hasn't been back to Roanoke in 14 months. She texts me every Sunday. How are you, Mom? I text back, I'm fine. I'm fine is the biggest lie in the world. Last January I went to a new doctor, Ananya Sharma, young, sharp, didn't know me as the community pharmacist of the year. She looked at my records and her face went pale. Mrs. Chambers, you're on 3 milligrams of Clonazepam a day, at 65. We need to start a taper today. This is dangerous. So now I'm on the way down. 10% reduction every 4 weeks. They call it the Ashton Manual Protocol. It's supposed to be safe. It feels like being skinned alive while you're still breathing. The panic attacks from 2011, they were nothing compared to this. This isn't panic. This is my nervous system being plugged into a high voltage socket every time I try to sleep. I wake up at 2 a.m. every night. The silence of this house is deafening. I sit here with my legal pad counting the hours until 6 a.m. when I can take the next sliver of a pill. I have my RPH license in a frame over there on the counter. 1985. I look at the photo of myself on graduation day. That girl with the big hair and the bright eyes. She thought she was the one who kept people safe. She thought the warnings on the bottles were for other people, not for long-term use. I printed that warning 1,200 times before I ever took my first dose. I knew the science. I knew the chemistry. I just didn't know how long it takes for a professional life to turn into a yellow legal pad in a dark kitchen. I'm at 2.5 milligrams now. Dr. Sharma says I have a year to go, maybe 2, if I'm lucky. I wonder if I'll ever find that girl from 1985, or if she's just another prescription that ran out.